2012 year in review. We are breaking down to you top newsmakers, top news stories from 2012, according to some of our able and very credible brothers and sisters in journalism. This afternoon on Kababayan LA, Fred is with Bakit Why. In Bakit Why, Fred, you get a lot of submissions for stories all over the U.S., correct?
Yes, correct.
And earlier you mentioned your top newsmaker was not one person, but a group, Filipino-American Chamber of Commerce in South. Hindi ka naman biased doon, no? Because
well, it's not just a chamber, but it's the community at large that supported the events.
Yes. Okay, who's your top news? What's your top news story for 2012?
My top news story is the fact that the Philippine Bayanihan spirit is alive and well. And this was once again proven earlier this year with the response that people got, for Sendong, which happened in southern Philippines. And, there was just, the support was overwhelming. Obviously, it's unfortunate that it had to take, the devastation of a huge natural calamity to bring it about. But the fact that people in the U.S., not just in LA, but everywhere, really rallied to support our brothers and sisters that needed it.
Raising
I think that's
funds,
absolutely, I mean, throwing benefit shows, passing the hat, collecting foods, clothes, everything.
And
so
that, and that despite the fact that we're so far away geographically, we can not care. Because we have our own concerns here, unemployment and all that. But then at the same time, we took our time to really help.
Yes.
But speaking of Sendong, it's not just Sendong. In fact, your top news story, which you mentioned earlier, was good and bad stories from the Philippines. The bad is?
It's been a year of natural disasters, and we had what they call a habagat. It's not a typhoon, it's not like Sendong or Ondoy, but it produced more rainfall than both typhoons. And we had about 95 dead, more than 8,000 homes destroyed, and $600 million, pesos, in losses. So, and 2 million were affected,
yes,
you said? 2 million by the flooding.
Right.
So
and
that is bad.
Yeah, pagka ganun ba, it affects our economy too, right?
Yes, of course it does.
So that is your top story, just the natural calamities.
Yes.
And right now we're reeling from Pablo as well, right?
Yes, exactly. Another fundraising for us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ronnie, what about your top story from the U.S.?
Yes, from the U.S. that affects not only the Philippine American community, but a lot of people here, especially the undocumented youth. The de facto, I call it de facto Dream Act, which was implemented back in August when the President Barack Obama, will allowed children who came here through no fault of their own, as long as they went to school here, and if they are here undocumented, they are allowed to apply for a work permit for good for 2 years, and maybe perhaps they will soon be legalized.
You're referring to DACA, right? Deferred action.
Right.
It's not just that. It has been a big year for immigration in 2012 because there's also the 9th Circuit ruling.
Yeah, 9th Circuit Court ruling back in September, the last week of September. It allows actually for those who what we call age-out children. Meron tong yung mga pinipetition sa atin, if your child reaches the age of 21, suddenly he or she will no longer be allowed to immigrate with you kung ikaw ay pinetition ka ng parents mo.
That's what happened to me.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you're one of the basic examples. So because of this ruling, now they can file using that priority date, that when you first, or your parents first filed for their immigration, you can use that and hopefully you will be granted. Of course, this may still be appealed by the USCIS sa Supreme Court, and hopefully wala nang mangyari doon, and all those children who are affected maka-immigrate then using that very, very old priority.
Right, so that's good news. Top news story for you, Ronnie, representing Balita and US Asian Post, is immigration. The wonderful developments in immigration that benefits a lot of our kababayans, no? Top news story for you is the unfortunately not so good news. A lot of calamities in the Philippines that we are still experiencing experiencing, no? And top news story from the Filipino American community side, which is
It's the
people coming
Bayanihan
together.
spirit. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, and because I know you're out there, like I said, you reporting, gathering the news for Balita, Nempa gathering the news for Philippine Daily Inquirer and GMA 7, and you're gathering the news for Bakit Why and accepting submissions for your online community site. You have, I'm sure, covered memorable stories this past 2012. We're going to be talking about that when we return on the show. Don't go away.